Where are you? Come out right now. When I returned home after being away for work, my grandchild, who was supposed to be there, was nowhere to be found. I thought something might have happened to him, so I started searching the house. Then, unexpectedly, I found my grandchild in an unimaginable place. I can't forgive someone for leaving a little child like that. I decided to punish my daughter-in-law, Tracy, for leaving my grandchild behind. My name is Diane. Several years ago, I lost my husband, and since my son Brian started working and moved out, I have been living alone in the house my husband left us. As a certified home care worker, I don't struggle to make ends meet. In this area where many elderly people live, home care work is in high demand, and my days are busy. One day, I received a call from my son, Brian.
Hello, Mom? I know it's sudden, but I've been transferred.
It turns out he was assigned to a place much farther away from where he currently lives. How can this be? Alex is still small. Can't you refuse? It's unreasonable of the company to transfer you at such a time. Brian's first wife died from being sick, and now we have my grandson, Alex, thanks to her. Although Alex is only 5 years old, he's smart and behaves well, not to trouble his father because he lost his mother early. Brian, who had been living with Alex alone after losing his former wife, met a woman named Tracy and remarried. Now they live as a family of 3.
I tried talking to the company, but it seems difficult. It's not a distance where I can easily come back, so I'm worried about leaving the 2 behind. That's why I want to discuss something with you.
Apparently, the new location is very far, and it's not easy to return home. Worried about the 2, Brian asked if I could live with them. Of course, I'm worried too, so I don't mind. Won't Tracy be mad about living with me? I thought I was keeping a good distance from her, but now that we're gonna live together, it might throw a wrench in our relationship.
That's fine, actually. It was Tracy who suggested it. She said, how about living with your mother at her house?
Well, if that's the case. But still, what is your company thinking with such a sudden transfer?
There's nothing I can do about this. This is just how it is for office workers everywhere.
Soon after, Tracy and Alex moved into my house. My house has plenty of rooms. While moving in, I noticed Alex looked a bit down and didn't want to leave his father's side. Alex, come here. Let's have some cookies. I offered him some cookies I had bought, and he took them with his small hands, saying, "Thank you, Grandma." I was worried about him adjusting since he had been living apart, but surprisingly, Alex seemed to open up to me. He smiled as he nibbled on the cookies, and I heard a loud bark from the yard. Is that Max? Brian nodded when I asked. In the yard was a small dog with fluffy white fur. Max was a dog Tracy had kept since before she was married, and with the move, Max was now living at our house. Luckily, our yard is spacious, so I planned to place a doghouse there. I also love dogs, so I was looking forward to meeting Max. Max! Alex ran to the yard upon seeing the dog and tried to touch its fluffy fur. Alex, don't touch him with dirty hands, I always tell you. Tracy yelled at him in a surprising tone. Shaken by her words, Alex shrank back and murmured a soft sorry. There's no need to be so angry. I told her off, and Tracy got all embarrassed and awkward before going back to what she was doing. Hey, Brian, is Tracy always like this? Tracy seemed overly harsh towards Alex.
She scolds him sometimes for discipline, but this was not right. I'll talk to her too.
Tracy must have been angry because Alex tried to touch Max with his snack-covered hands. When I saw Alex looking all sad after getting yelled at, I started worrying about what our life together will be like. The moving was completed smoothly, and Brian set off for his new job, starting our life as 3. So, Diane, please pick up Alex today. Today she had a gathering with her mom friends, she said, wearing a dress that outlined her figure and heavier makeup than usual, then left the house. The lingering scent of her strong perfume filled the air as I sighed. At first, Tracy seemed considerate towards me, but as she became more accustomed to living in our house, She began to behave as if she owned the place. Despite being a housewife and not working, Tracy often left the house. She did the bare minimum housework, but often casually asked me to pick up Alex from kindergarten, like today, despite my full-time job in home care. I had heard she had a broad social circle, but how often could there be gatherings? When I said I couldn't always help because of work, she claimed that Alex might be bullied if she didn't get along with the other moms, so I always reluctantly agreed. Tracy seemed to think I wouldn't assert myself, and eventually she started going out at night too. According to her, there was a drinking party just for the moms. On such nights, I put Alex to bed. "Mom's busy today. Sorry you're stuck with me, sweetie."
"No, I love sleeping with you, Grandma. Thank you."
Alex hugged me tightly. It was touching how bravely he was coping despite missing his father. Tracy is his stepmom. Doesn't she think it's sad that Alex doesn't have his father around and that she should be there for him instead of just not being there for him? Whenever I think about this, I always get angry. Yet, Alex always considers his mother's feelings, and one day, as Tracy's birthday approached, he said he wanted to give her a present himself.
"Mom is always busy, right? That's why I want to cook her a delicious meal."
"Yes, I understand. Let's cook a feast together with me." He wanted to keep it a secret from his mom until that day, so the two of us secretly discussed and planned what to cook. On Tracy's birthday, she returned home after 5 p.m. from somewhere, and Alex ran up to her.
"Mom, welcome back.
What? I'm tired. If you need something, talk to your grandma." Tracy brushed off the eagerly waiting Alex and tried to retreat to her room immediately. However, Alex did not give up despite her cold attitude, forcefully pulled her hand and led her to the dining room. On the dining table was the omelet Alex had made with me. The words, "I love you," were clumsily written with ketchup on the omelet, but it was clear that it was a child's utmost expression of love for his mother. But Tracy was shocked when she saw it.
"What's up with this omelet? It's all messy with ketchup."
The way she spoke to Alex made him feel down.
Mom, isn't it your birthday today? I tried hard to make this as a birthday present."
While nearly in tears, Alex earnestly tried to explain. Tracy sighed heavily.
This is such a hassle. All right, I get it."
She reluctantly sat down and took a bite of the omelet, only to put the spoon down immediately and stand up.
"It's not very tasty. I'm not hungry, so thanks for the meal. I won't eat any more, so I'll just clean up."
She took the plate of remaining omelet and headed to the kitchen. Then Tracy began to throw the leftover omelet into the garbage bin. "Wait a minute, Tracy. Isn't that too much? Alex made that with effort just for you."
I'm just not feeling well. I wasn't hungry."
"Even so, there's no need to throw it away. You're always leaving Alex behind to go out, and even when you're home, you treat him harshly. Think about Alex's feelings here." I couldn't help but scold her harshly. I hadn't admonished her for her behavior before, thinking that living apart from her husband must be distressing. But that was probably a mistake, as she continued to be harsh to Alex even in my presence. Confronted by my stern demeanor, Tracy seemed to reflect and apologized with tears in her eyes.
"I'm sorry. I didn't mean any harm. But my going out is so that Alex could socialize. I do care about my son."
"Well, if that's the case, show it through your actions." I made her promise never to treat Alex so harshly again. After that, she did seem to be kinder to Alex. Even so, the way they were talking to each other still seemed off, and it made me feel uncomfortable. Then the seasons changed to winter. It's rare in this region, but looking outside the window, I saw snowflakes. After finishing dinner and cleaning up in the kitchen, Tracy stormed into the living room with a furious expression.
"Max is gone. You must have done something wrong and let him escape."
She accused Alex, who was quietly watching TV on the sofa with a tone of certainty.
"I don't know, Mom."
Alex looked puzzled and shook his head, showing no signs of guilt. Certainly, Alex is not the kind of child who would let a dog escape. After all, wasn't it she who always harshly told him not to touch Max? And wait a minute, don't make baseless accusations. Besides, what would Alex gain by doing such a thing? I hurried to intervene and protect Alex. His body trembled as I hugged him, perhaps from being yelled at by his mother.
But think about it. Why would Max, who is tied up in the kennel, disappear? Someone must have deliberately let him out.
While she might be upset about the missing dog, it was outrageous to blame her son without any evidence. Just as I was about to argue back, my smartphone rang unexpectedly. The call was from the nursing station where I work. They informed me that an elderly person I care for had fallen and injured themselves at home, asking if I could come to check on them right away. I was concerned about Tracy and Alex, but I couldn't leave an elderly person who couldn't move due to a fall. Alex, I'm sorry. Grandma has to go to work now. Go to sleep first with your mom. Tracy, please take care of him. Tracy didn't look too happy about it, but she nodded along when I said that. The sad look on Alex's face as I left was hard to forget as I reluctantly headed to my client's house. Fortunately, the elderly person's injuries were not severe, and their family members who live separately arrived to help, allowing me to return home late that night. I wondered if the two were all right. Worried, I opened the front door to find the house completely dark. I assumed they had both gone to bed, but I checked the bedroom just in case. I opened the bedroom door and scanned the dark room. However, Alex, who should have been in bed by now, was not there. Tracy was also missing. Could they have gone out? No, they couldn't have left this late at night. A bad feeling crept over me as I searched the house, but I couldn't find either of them. Alex! Alex! Where are you? It's Grandma. Come out, please. I called out my grandson's name in confusion, fearing they might have been involved in an incident, but there was no response. After searching every corner of the house, I grabbed a flashlight and went out to the yard. The light snow was still fluttering down. Thinking no one would be outside in such cold, I then noticed something moving in the shadow of Max's doghouse in the corner of the yard. I thought maybe Max had been found, but when I shined my flashlight there, I saw Alex shivering with cold in light clothing. He was sitting inside the doghouse, huddled with his knees pulled up. Alex! What are you doing here? As I rushed over, Alex seemed relieved to see me and began to cry loudly. His hands were ice cold to the touch. I quickly took him inside the house and warmed him up in the bath. I was relieved when his color returned, but I wondered why Alex had been sitting out there in the first place. Alex, why were you sitting out there? As I asked him, Alex suddenly looked sad, as if he was enduring something. He was silent for a while, but eventually he began to explain bit by bit. After Grandma went to work, Mom accused me of letting Max escape. I told her I really didn't know, but she didn't believe me. Then Mom got angry and said to stay in Max's doghouse until he came back. How dare she? Who would tell a 5-year-old child to stay outside in the snow, let alone in a doghouse? Thank you for telling me, I said, and as Alex started crying again, I hugged him to calm him down. I picked up my smartphone and called someone. Leaving such a young child in the snow like that, I absolutely cannot forgive this time. Hello, could you please come and pick us up? After a while, the person I had called arrived by car. When the doorbell rang and I went to greet him, Alex joyfully called out, Daddy! Brian hugged Alex tightly in response.
Alex, I'm sorry. Daddy's back now. Mom, I'm sorry about this.
We'll talk later. I can no longer forgive that person. Come on, Alex. Let's go with Daddy and Grandma. Saying that, we left the house and got into Brian's car parked outside. Brian drove for a while and eventually we entered a certain residential area. This area is known as a high-end residential district, and each house is surrounded by tall fences enclosing large properties. Brian stopped the car in front of a particularly large mansion.
It's been a while. Thanks for coming. Come on in.
An elderly gentleman with white hair came out to greet us with a smile. He, Mr. Robert, is the father of Brian's late former wife, and thus Alex's biological grandfather. Although there had been little overt contact since the remarriage, Brian had happened to meet Robert while on a business trip. Separated from his family due to a sudden transfer, Brian discussed with Mr. Robert the mental burden it would place on Alex, who had already lost his real mother. Robert, who runs several companies and was concerned about his grandson even from afar, offered Brian a job at his company. Initially hesitant to take such a generous offer, Brian thought it best for Alex not to have to face frequent relocations, so he gratefully accepted. During this time, Brian had been keeping Robert updated about the situation at home with Tracy's frequent outings and her cruel attitude towards Alex. There had been signs of odd behavior towards Alex even when the three of them lived together, as she had behaved like a mother only superficially. So we decided to keep the transfer plans hidden from her for a while. We were preparing to live together discreetly, but before we could finalize anything, this happened. When Brian reported that Alex had been left in the doghouse, Robert was furious, and Brian, with tears in his eyes, hugged Alex and apologized.
Dad, will I be able to live with you? Or will we be separated again?
No, we'll always be together from now on.
When Brian said that, Alex's face lit up with a smile. Is everything ready?
Yes, finally.
The time has finally come. Brian nodded at my words and tightly squeezed Alex's hand, his resolve clear not to let go of his little hand ever again. We returned home, and the next day I confronted Tracy about leaving Alex in a doghouse, but she stubbornly denied saying or doing such a thing.
Besides, I have things to do today, so I'm heading out. Please take care of Alex.
No matter how much I pressed her, she was unfazed and prepared to leave the house as usual. Just then, the front door clicked open.
I'm home.
Oh, what? Why are you back all of a sudden?
Ryan's transfer was supposed to be hours away by car. Surprised by her husband's sudden return without any prior contact, Tracy tried to feign a smile and welcomed him warmly. However, Brian didn't smile back and looked at her coldly, silently handing her a brown envelope.
What's this?
Her complexion changed as she opened the envelope and saw the contents. It was an investigation report about Tracy's infidelity, just as Brian had heard from my reports about her conduct. He had hired a detective agency to monitor Tracy's activities.
You can't escape the truth now. It's all clear from this report and the photos.
This is all just a big misunderstanding.
The photos showed her entering a hotel with another man.
To think you were involved with my boss. Was all the trouble with Max just to harass Alex? The detective agency found out everything, including that Max was safe in that guy's apartment.
According to the investigation, Max was being kept in the apartment of Tracy's lover. Essentially, the disappearance was a staged act by her. It also became clear that the sudden transfer and separation were all part of a plan devised by Tracy and Brian's boss. If Brian was transferred far away, they could meet more frequently, and the bothersome child could be pushed onto me. That was why Tracy had readily agreed to live with her mother-in-law, something she would normally dislike.
I don't know anything about this. It must be some kind of mistake.
She tried to feign ignorance and deny everything hysterically, but her lies were soon exposed by the arrival of an unexpected person. As the argument continued, the doorbell rang, indicating a visitor. When I went to the door, an unfamiliar woman was standing there, probably in her 30s.
You know this person, don't you?
Tracy shook her head left and right in response to Brian's question.
No, I don't know her. Who's she?
She truly looked as if she couldn't recall. Hearing this, Brian scoffed through his nose.
You were often leaving Alex with Mom to go to gatherings with other kindergarten moms. This woman is the mother of Alex's best friend. It's impossible that you don't know her.
He then confronted her with photos and an investigation report as proof of the affair, demanding the truth. Collapsing to the floor, she seemed to accept that she could no longer lie and admitted everything. Looking down on her, Brian presented a completed divorce form and coldly declared it was over.
No, it was all just a moment of madness. I don't want to get a divorce.
It's too late. I can't forgive you for hurting not just me, but Alex too. Get out of this house right now.
How dare you? I've been taking care of your child, you know, and yet this is how you treat me? Why don't you thank me even once?
Of course I am grateful, but what about now? You dump Alex on Mom and go off to enjoy yourself. We don't need a mother who would shove her child into a doghouse.
A fierce argument erupted, and it took a while before things settled down. But eventually, Brian and Tracy's divorce was finalized in court. Lawyers were hired to sue both Tracy and her lover for substantial damages, since the lover turned out to be a married man, who also had to pay compensation to his own family. Moreover, the lover's company had just formed a business alliance with Mr. Roberts' company, and the man was fired as a result of his actions. Having lost his job and forced to live modestly to make the compensation payments, I heard they now reside in a public housing complex, barely making ends meet. The affair ended up cooling off after the reality of the court case, leading to constant arguments between them, and their relationship has reportedly become quite strained. Meanwhile, our family has managed to continue living in this house left to us by my late husband, now happily as a family of 3. Alex seems significantly happier with his father around, smiling much more than before. Robert, his grandfather, influenced by the whole affair, now occasionally visits our home with sweets and toys for Alex. Alex has grown quite attached to him, often calling him Grandpa, Grandpa. What Tracy did to young Alex is something I can never forgive. Therefore, I want to make many happy memories for Alex to compensate. I hope to give Alex a truly happy life this time.